Hello there, this is Anna Amelia from Northeast Animal Rights, welcoming you all to another one of our Saturday Spotlight interviews, and we're delighted to have along Jordi Casamitjana. Now, normally I would introduce Jordi and tell you what he does, but I would like him to introduce himself because there's so many things that he does, I don't want to miss anything out. So Jordi, over to you. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do and a bit about yourself and your work, please?
Sure, I probably gonna forget something myself as well. So I am a zoologist, so I'm originally from Catalonia, but I work in animal protection. I've been working in animal protection all my life, and I'm known mostly now because I'm the vegan that managed to secure ethical veganism as a protected philosophical belief in the UK. That was in 2020. But before that, I worked in animal protection in many fields as a freelancer, as employee of reputable animal protection organizations. I work against zoos and I closed 5 zoos. I work against hunting. I was responsible for the first successful prosecutions on the Hunting Act 2004. I work with primates. I work at the Monkey Sanctuary in Loo, and then I work with so many issues. I've been an undercover investigator, and recently I've become a writer. So I do this for a living. I write for several organizations. I'm a freelance writer. Vegan FTA is one of the main clients I have. I write articles and become a kind of a journalist now, but I also write books. But it's all related to veganism, animal protection. All my life as an adult life has been that, just trying different ways to help animals in the ways that I have skills that I can use for that purpose.
Thank you. I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons why I thought I can't introduce you because because you just so much. I mean, you've got such a rounded and really like like a you like to me like a fan of knowledge for all sorts of things that to do with animal rights. I mean, I remember coming across you because of the ethical veganism and the law part of it. That's when I first came across the work that you were doing, and we use that quite a lot. And in different sort of situations, we use that advice quite a lot. Um, but I did. I mean, I did buy your book, The Ethical Vegan, which is just behind you on your left shoulder there. I can see on the back there. So could you tell me how that book came about as well, please? For those people who don't know who you are and don't know about what this book is about. I mean, I've read it. I've read it a couple of times now, and it's a really, really good book, which I use quite a lot. But if you wouldn't mind explaining your thought process as to why you wanted to write it.
Yes, what happens is this book came directly from my legal case. When I won my legal case in 2020 that said, as I said, veganism is a protected philosophical belief in the UK. That had never happened anywhere in the world. The UK is the only jurisdiction where veganism has this level of protection. That means there was a lot of interest from the press everywhere. And immediately after I won, a publisher approached and said, look, you need to write a book about how you did it, because it took me 2 years to litigate for this and win. And I said, fine, but I also want to write a book about other things, because I've been trying to find books that I want to read, like the books about the history of veganism or the type of vegans they are, or the vegan world of the future. And I never find these books because nobody's written them, or they're difficult to find. And I thought, well, I probably need to write them myself. And I asked the publisher, can I do that as well? Can I do it together with this? He said, fine, do it. And so the book is a combination of 3 stories intertwined. One is the story of my legal case. Then is the story of how I became a vegan, the whole my biography. And then the story of the vegan philosophy as a whole and the concept. So, and I intertwined them so you don't know when one starts and the other finish. So you need to keep reading the entire book to find the end of each story. So in case you are tempted to only read one and not the other, so I force you to go through the 3 of them, because I want people to read about the history and the philosophy, not just about the case and things like that. And that was the intention. And then what happened is, because people like the way I wrote, people started to ask me to contribute and to hire me to write for the publications and the websites. And before me planning it or anything like that, I became this full-time freelance writer I am today, and I didn't need to do anything else. But the book was just generated straight away from my legal case. Of course, my legal case was a consequence of me being vegan and pursuing it. So it is the logical conclusion of my process of veganization that took many years and ended up with this book. So.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the book was, like you said, there's 3 stories as you described them, and it was really interesting. I liked it because it was from the personal point of view, and it was also giving you kind of like the background to veganism. And before the word vegan wasn't even coined by Donald Watson in 1944 and his colleagues, it was kind of it's been around for so many years. and I found that fascinating. That part of what the research you did was fascinating. The fact that when people say this is like a recent fad, it's not. It's been around for as long as man has been around, you know. But I also like the fact that it was an easier read than some of the books that you said you find some animal rights books are really, really heavy and very hard to kind of like get into. Whereas I found with yours it was much more easier flowing. So it's no wonder that you were asked to do other articles. And I know obviously we use some of your articles from Vegan FTA quite regularly in our posts. So how do you decide on the topics that you do? I mean, are you looking at the news? Are you looking at where do you get your ideas from?
Yeah, that's a good question. Nobody asked me this question before. That's interesting. So it varies. So I write for Vegan FDM different type of articles. Some are news. So they just basically look around and then I propose to them because I'm freelance. I have to propose to them. And sometimes they propose to me and then we both have to agree and I write the short news pieces. But the longer ones, the ones that are more of a blog type, these are normally come from me having an idea. And I walk a lot. I go through parks and often my ideas come when I'm walking through the nature in the park. And then I have an idea and then I email it to me from the spot. So when I go home, I put it into a database of ideas I got, an Excel file, the ideas I got with a couple of sentences to remember what the idea was. And then after a while, when I have to pitch new blogs to Vegan FA or any of the clients, I look at that database, I select a few, and then I pitch them. I kind of give an explanation of what the idea is about, and I give them to Vegan FA, and then might accept some, I reject some, they might like some, might not like some, and these are the ones that they become articles. And then often then I have to research them, and then I have to look into them, and some of them might take a long time to produce. There are other articles that take me months. They are very basically investigations that I done, kind of research that it took me months, as I did one about vegan phobia or one about vegan care homes. These are journalistic investigations that I had to contact many people, and these are kind of different. But the normal blogs, the more philosophical ones, they are either come from my experience, and I always try to relate to things that happen to me, or issues I know a lot because I research them or investigate them. Or sometimes I just need to have the idea, but have no knowledge at that point, and then I have to research for a while before I'm able to write it.
Yeah, I've noticed that some of the articles, although the articles themselves are maybe, maybe like a 5-minute read, there's an awful lot of research gone into them. And that's why we like using them, because we know that you've already done the work, that you know the places to look, and you've already done the work, which is obviously evident in your first book, and also there's other book we're going to talk about. But it's the fact that there's so many research articles and reference points you could go back to. So thank you for doing all that work for us.
No problem.
It makes our life so much easier.
Well, me too, because that's how I nourish my next article with the knowledge of that I acquire for previous articles. So the more I write, the more I learn. The more I learn, the more ideas I have, and the more I can do an article with less research, because I already probably know a little bit about the subject.
Yeah, I don't know how your head doesn't explode with all the different things going on in them.
Well, what happens is from 2020, there's an average of 2021, an average of 1.5 articles published of mine every day, Saturday and Saturday. So these loads of articles, more than 2,500 articles last time I counted. That means I forget articles I've written. So I have a subject, I think, this is a good idea. And then I check, I actually have written this about 5 years ago. So it's, at one point, you do forget what you have written because it's so much. So.
Yeah, I mean, on a much smaller level. I mean, I write for a local church magazine, and I'm kind of like, I've been doing it for a few years now. And obviously there's certain things in an animal rights calendar that are the same every single year. And I've got to be really careful that I don't write about the same thing, just using different words. But I do the same thing, I try to go back. But with you, I mean, you've got so many articles. It's just, I mean, I suppose you must wake up in the middle of the night or go to sleep and have ideas and you write them down. And
it's all, I mean, email them. That's how I do it. I email them to me. And the subject line begins with block idea. So then I can do a quick search if I need to, and they are there. But emotions seem to be the thing that inspire me. So in the middle of the night, I hardly ever have an inspirational idea. But when I'm walking or in the bus, or that's when things come up in my brain.
And I know, I mean, you mentioned you're walking a couple of times, and I love the photographs you put out of the flowers. They're just so beautiful. And they are, you know, I really appreciate them personally because, you know, you know that the sort of work that we both do, it can just drag you down, and you just need a little bit of brightness. And the photographs that you put out, the flowers are just gorgeous. I don't always know what the flowers are, but they are very much appreciated. And I would recommend anybody who's not already following you to go on and have a look at just at those flower photographs. I mean, you know, the constant, and they're just a lovely sort of source of brightness when you just need a little bit of a boost, you know.
Well, that's precisely why I do it, because for what you just said, I think we do need to compensate the amount of ugliness that we see with beauty. And so when I go out in the countryside or in the parks, my attention is to nature and to beauty, just to kind of detox myself from all the thoughts and ideas. And I see them more probably than the average person. My attention goes to them. And because my attention goes to them, and then I take a photo, I take some time by observing and take a photo that relaxes me. And then I share them in social media. I have this regular post titled Flowers of the Day, and I choose 4 or 5, and then try to do it every day when they have flowers, obviously spring and summer only, and not to repeat myself, in the sense that if I posted 1 year a flower, that try not to repeat the same species in the same year, and waiting for the next year until they flowered again. So, and that I think is kind of a way to spread a bit of good colors, and also I process each image to enhance the colors to make it look as I see them, and share them, and that's my way to compensate for all the ugliness.
Yeah, I mean, it is important that we kind of, you know, that we as activists, we do take time to appreciate what is going on around us, like the good things. I mean, we get so much of the bad stuff, and little things like this, small things. Even, I mean, I suppose at the moment there's quite a lot of ladybirds out, like, you know, like appreciating those, and the mayflies, the crane flies, all those little creatures, and just taking time to watch them just go about their day without any regard for all of the drama that we're causing, you know. And the flowers just appearing in, I mean, what I like seeing is flowers that are appearing in unusual places. So you might sort of find like a bit of, you know, like a bit of like a rubbish pile somewhere, and then there's a little flower just popping up, or a load of stones and a wall, and a little pansy just popping up. I love those ones. You know, I mean, it's great seeing the cultivated gardens and everything, but I really like seeing like the unexpected flowers, which you don't. You don't know, you know, sometimes people are just so rushed, they just walk past and they don't see them. So that's the sort of like nature that I really appreciate.
Cool. Yeah, I do the same thing. I also do insects of the day sometimes, or animals of the day if I find enough. So,
yeah. But you know, keep it up. It's brilliant. It's a really, really good idea, and I certainly appreciate it. I want to talk to you today, I suppose, mainly about the book that you've got out currently, which is this one here. Okay, so this is Why Vegans Don't. It's a philosophical guide to vegan behaviour. Now, I was going to buy it anyway because I love your work, but I love this book, and I've used it absolutely loads. I've used bits of it. I mean, I don't know if you can see there's loads of little things I've turned down in it, where I use it as reference points, because I go into schools as an animal aid school speaker, and it's good. I mean, I talked about somebody else has already done the academic research, so to give somebody a bit of like gravitas to the information I'm putting out to children. Obviously, I've got to make sure that it's absolutely correct when we're doing topics like animal experiments, or, you know, talking about zoos or anything like that. So I've used I mean, even things like the sentience, your definition of sentience. So I've got when we're talking about, you talked about mollusks having sentience. And this ridiculous argument about can vegans eat mollusks, you just like you don't need to, so why would you? It's just pointless. You know, you have to laugh at some of the ridiculous stuff, but this is really important, because I can, you know, I get some of the students to read out passages. I have them highlighted, and I say to them, read that out, and then we discuss the passage, and it's always linked to like the topic we're doing. So I've been doing quite a lot of stuff on animals and the law. So we've done stuff around, you know, like why the laws are there in the first place, how they progressed. Use your example of the ethical veganism as a philosophical belief, and then there's quite a lot of stuff in here as well, like how the laws have progressed through the centuries and more recent times, the failures and everything as well. So this one, I mean, I know there's a lot of like sort of like references in the back. So how did you come up with the idea for this one, and what was the process of writing? Because I know there's a lot of stuff, you know, I know there's a lot of references to articles you've already written, but there's a lot of new stuff in there as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm glad that you use it because in the way you describe, because it's precisely why I wrote it. So what I realized when I wrote the first one, The Ethical Vegan, I realized that that was because of the structure I mentioned, these three stories and to try and force you to
Yeah.
read. That was not a useful reference book. It was a useful kind of a story, a novel, a thriller type of thing, and also good to know it. But if you want to go back for a detail,
Mm.
at the end or things like that. I thought I need to do a reference version of this. So go deeper, because when I wrote Ethical Vegan, then all the articles and blogs I wrote afterwards, many came from ideas developed in the book, but not going too deep, and then going deeper and trying to research further. So the book was a catalyst for me to go deeper into several things, that they become blogs and things like that. So, and eventually I thought, well, some of these articles I have, I could compile them together and just put them in a book, because they already have the research and the reference, and then I can write new articles. And I realized that some of the articles I wrote, they were themed, and there was this group of articles the title was always why vegans don't use silk or leather or consume honey or things like that. And I thought, well, I have a few of those. I could just perhaps compile them in a book. And then create each chapter unique with the reference at the end of the chapter. So if people want to use that chapter alone, they can they don't need to read any other part of the book. And they have a unit that they can just copy and photocopy and send it to someone if they want to ask, or they ask you the question, why don't you use leather? So have it, you can read it in any order. You have all the reference. So more of a useful book, precisely to be used as you just described. So I'm glad that it worked.
Yeah,
that was the idea. That was the idea. But also at the beginning of it, going a bit deeper into the philosophy, because I started talking about the philosophy in the first book, but this one I wanted to deconstruct it a little bit more about the axioms. So for people to understand more the philosophy, because once you understand it, then it makes more sense why we reject what we reject. So that was the idea of this book.
Yeah, I'll actually just turn on to that bit about the axioms there. The axiom of ahimsa, kind of like why. I mean, you talked about what is an axiom, and then the axiom is ahimsa, the axiom of animal sentience, anti-exploitation, anti-speciesism. So these are all important things that we as activists need to know about, because it underpins what we do and like why we do it. It's not just about kind of we don't do this. It's about when people are asking those more searching questions, why don't you do it? And kind of like getting that a bit more, I suppose. And the axiom of precariousness as well. I mean, that's a really, really important one. So all of these things kind of like to me was like really good building blocks for where we are and what we should be doing as activists. But I'm just kind of going to flick through. There's a couple of bits on here. The bits which we, I mean, you've done an awful lot on the environment as well, like the part of the plant and that sort of stuff, based on the articles you've previously written, and we know that kind of like pushing the talking about all of the aspects of veganism. So you and I will know that we are constantly hammering that veganism isn't a diet. It's about all these aspects which you've written about very well. But it's about knowing all the other benefits as well. So the benefits to the environment, the benefits to people, the benefits to the planet as a whole. And I know Roger Yates is who I have a lot of admiration for. He says that veganism is the ultimate peace movement, and it is that, because if we treat people and animals kindly, then we've kind of like solved the problem. We don't have all these horrible things going on in the news. And this is kind of like the feeling I get from your book as well. It's very much peace led, which really sort of like speaks to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wrote an article titled "Veganism is the Ultimate Peace Movement." So I totally agree with Roger in that. And yeah, because I call them dimensions. So if you look at veganism, one of the metaphors I like to use, because it's easy to visualize, is I imagine that veganism is a mansion, a huge mansion. There's room for everyone. Everybody can live there forever, but has 5 doors and 5 gardens in each of the doors. And these are called the gateways into this mansion. And one is animal rights, the other is the environment, the other is health, the other is spirituality, the other is social justice. And these are the things that people are attracted to from the outside. They haven't visited the mansion yet. They see that one, they like that door more than the other. So they move in, and once they're in, they then discover all the other dimensions. So what were gateways initially, now they are dimensions when you explore the philosophy from within. And any vegan has been vegan for a long time like me had time enough to discover all these dimensions and recognize recognize that, yeah, I was attractive with the animal rights. That was the one that moved me in, but I can see now the environment. I can see the social justice. I can see the health. I didn't see this before, and now I can see it. And then the more you explore, then the more you enrich your knowledge about the veganism, and you make it stronger, and you make it more attractive to a wider audience. You're able to defend it from different angles that you would not before, and therefore reinforces the whole philosophy. So some people that just join the philosophy, they haven't explored anything. They think it's only about this, it's only about that. That's because they just arrived, they knew. They just spending a long time in the vestibule of the mansion. They haven't explored any room. But if you do explore the room and go to the library, go to the kitchen, and then you learn all these other dimensions, and then that solidifies your philosophy, make it stronger. And then you're less likely to drop it because it becomes more fundamental.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people see it as, like the latest trend or something which they're going to try, and that they don't get the reasons why they're doing it. And it is important. I mean, you talk about this mansion, but we know that the entry to the mansion is completely free. Everybody's welcome. It's there's no charge. We want you to stay there forever. We want you to kind of be part of it and part of the solution. But yeah, it's a really, really good way of describing it. So have you got any more books in the pipeline, or is this kind of like you sort of? I mean, how long did this one take you to get to put the publication stage?
Well, that didn't take me that long because some of the articles had already been written. So it probably took me a year to publish that one, to write. And there are others. I can do the same thing. They are big, as I said earlier, part of the genesis of this book is some of the themes I already had written about that went through from article to article. There are other themes I could develop into books as well. I could go through my all published articles and say, okay, this is a theme I could develop in the book. And it's always choosing some of the articles, then writing the gaps that I haven't written about, and then have an introduction and end to make it all coherent. I could do that with several. This one I think I would like to write. But if it's not the next, maybe the second next. It would be about the vegan world of the future. I write sometimes occasionally. For instance, this vegan mansion idea. There's an article that's called "Welcome to the Vegan Mansion." I wrote about it, and I would like to have that one in that new book, because that new book is more of a fantasy book in the sense that it's more a speculation about how the future would look like. It's all just a conjecture, but it's interesting. And I think we need to visualize the vegan world of the future. We need to imagine it to be able to carry on fighting, because if we forget about it, at one point we just lose motivation. We need to show people that although it's not there, it might take generations, it is possible, it's feasible. You can imagine it in different ways, and every person, every vegan can have different versions of it. But having that exercise to imagine and to write about it, to paint about it, and to produce videos about it, that helps to give coherence to philosophy. It's always good to think in the long-term, bigger picture. And even if you don't really know how it actually will be in the end, but just speculate to get your imagination going. So I would like to write a book about that.
Yeah. That sounds absolutely brilliant. I mean, you're right. We do kind of, I mean, I often say to people who get disheartened, don't look how far we've got to go. Look at how far we've come. And we do have this end goal of a vegan world, and we don't know if that's ever going to happen. We don't know how long it's going to take, but we do know that there's small wins. I mean, we know that there's losses every day as well, but there's also small wins. So it's kind of, if this the vegan world you're going to write about, whether it's 50 years ahead or 100 years ahead, or 200 years ahead, we are part of that now, and it's something which we are. I'm trying to think if it was Roger or Ronnie or even Wendy who said something about it's the ultimate self-sacrifice, that we are doing something for other people's benefit, because we know that we're not going to be around to see the main benefits.
Right.
Other people's, as in the animals and humans, because that is right. I mean, we are going to see changes in our lifetime, but the main changes are going to be well beyond ours. So it's going to be like our children's way in the future. So yeah, I think you definitely need to write that book. I'll put myself on the waiting list for that one.
Yeah, is the ultimate goal of the vegan movement? Is the vegan world. So the animal rights movement and the vegan movement, they're slightly different. They are very overlapping over the years, been getting closer. The animal rights goal is animal liberation, as we know, but the veganism goal is the vegan world. So it had to cover not just animals and non-human animals, had to cover everything, because we actually aiming to change the entire world to the better. So therefore, that is the goal, and we need to explore it. So we need to think how we get there, because we're building it right now, one piece at a time. It might take, as you said, generations, probably many more than people think, but each generation will have to continue the building of the previous generation, and we can't just ignore that and let the next generation to do it, and we do nothing. We need to build one step at a time, even if it's tiny, veganizing everything that can be veganized, changing people's minds, removing speciesism and supremacism gradually to individuals, to groups, to societies, to companies. And that's how we do it. So we all, when we become vegans after a while and we've done it, we realize, okay, I want to do some activism. But part of the activism is to persuade other people to become vegan. But other part is to veganize stuff, doing changes, making political rules changes, policy changes in the company you work, in the groups you work, to gradually building this vegan world. And then you become what I call a veganist, not just a vegan. A veganist is a builder of the vegan world.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about, building this vegan world and our aim to get there. But there's going to be it'll be interesting to see when you've written it. No pressure, because obviously there's things that we can change, like the political. I mean, we're going through a massive amount of political turmoil at the moment. So these are things that we can influence, but there's other things which we can influence and things that we can't, like the environmental issues, which we're seeing now, like all over the place. So that if you kind of like fast forward 50 years, 100 years, 150 years down the line, what would that sort of like, how would that impact on us as veganists, because some things people who are not vegan are going to have to do, so I don't know, it's a bit of a, I suppose it's your book to write.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't know where to start on it.
Yeah, well, this one, it would be based in starting from some of the articles I've written, but then I will want to write about how I imagine the politics of it would be, because that I have mentioned that it must be different than the politics that we have now, but how, I don't know. So I would like to speculate and see, okay, how would that work? And think in all the dimensions of human society and see how they will change and in which order they will change and in which direction. And just be honest, it is just pure speculation. They might never happen in this way, but the exercise of trying to imagine might actually allow you to discover things you can do right now in that direction.
But some of the things that whatever you end up writing about, some of the things will happen because they're already happening, and because we know that we are already making progress. So some things will definitely happen. So in terms of getting your book, right? Can you remind people where we can get it from, please?
Well, the best way you can get it is from lulu.com. You can get it online from lulu.com. Just search for the name of the title, and you'll find it. That's the best. You can also find it in other places that they're already selling them. In other bookshops, you can order it in every bookshop, but it will take a while before they order it. They probably don't have it. And also, I do have stalls every now and then in VegFest in different places. I continually having these stalls selling my books at a discount. So you see me advertising an event that's going to be soon, then you can come along and get it cheaper. But otherwise, lulu.com is the best.
Yeah, that's where I got mine from. Yeah, from lulu.com. Right. So I wanted to mention just before we go, you've got the big vegan survey out as well at the moment. So can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I've filled it in since I saw it, and obviously I've shared it around as well. So can you tell me a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, it's called the Huge Vegan Survey.
The Huge.
Because there was another one called the Big Vegan Survey, another one called the Great Vegan Survey. So I had to find a different name.
Sorry.
So, the only one available was the Huge.
Massive.
Massive might be the next one. The idea is such to create the biggest survey ever of vegans, because I realized that all the vegan surveys, or the surveys of vegans I've seen about, that they've been publicized with articles in the press and things like that, they were so bad and often so misleading. You see an article says 80% of vegans do this or that, and then you go and check the survey and they were all vegetarians and only 20 vegans. And then so the samples of actual vegans is minuscule, or the questions are asked in such a way that people don't give an answer that is useful. So I realized, well, we don't really know much about the vegan community because most of the stuff we know is often misleading from these incomplete or erroneous surveys. So I said, well, I'm going to do one myself. I'm a scientist. I know how to do these things. So I'm going to do one myself. And in order to make it work, it had to be one of the biggest. You had to have a bigger sample because smaller samples is one of the problems we have. And it have to be all vegans or people that define themselves as plant-based or any other identity or label similar to that. But this is not for vegetarians or flexitarians. This is aimed to vegans, plant-based or similar labels. And then at one point when I get a big enough sample, then I start to analyze it and I find interesting results and publish several articles about those and then I'll publish the whole thing in a PDF. We'll see. It's still open. It might take a while. I only going to stop it when I feel I have enough people replying. It's international, it's free, it's anonymous, so you don't leave any detail there. Again, one of the problems of many surveys before, that the survey is just an excuse to get the details. The emails, addresses, and then people know that they are reluctant to reply to these surveys. Well, mine is completely anonymous. You go in, you'll see you don't have to give your name, you don't have to use your email address, anything like that. This is kind of big. It takes about 10 minutes to answer, or sometimes even more, but 10 minutes is quite doable. But that's the good point. So it goes deep, goes in detail. So we want to hear everything, and because we want to use this information. So please share it as much as we can. It's for adults, they have to be over 18, but for any country in the world works. And just share it everywhere, and because we want to reach huge sample, and so far it's going well. So far, thousands of people have replied. So it's good.
Good. I mean, I found, you said it took 10 minutes to do. I mean, I found it quite easy to fill in because it's structured very, very well. And I would definitely encourage people to fill it in because we do need this sort of, a big sample base. And we need it to be focused on veganism because, like you said, all the stuff, when you look at articles in the paper, they'll go, vegans do this, vegans do that. And you look at it and actually the majority of the people who have asked are vegetarian, which is a completely different area. So what I'll do as well is I'll share it in the, when I'm going to post the interview, I'll put in the link for the survey as well as the link for the books as well. So because obviously I would like people to read the previous book as well, The Ethical Vegan, like the first, the journey through all of that, the law case and everything, the legal case, should I say. So well, we're coming to the end of our time together. I mean, I feel as if we've hardly scratched the surface. There's just so much to talk to you about. But thank you very much for giving up your time today.
No problem.
I really do appreciate it. And more power to your writing. I mean, I absolutely love reading articles. And I would really recommend everybody those people who haven't heard of you. I mean, I don't know why they haven't, but if they haven't heard of you, you need to definitely look you up and get your books and look at the articles. Look at Vegan FTA, the articles you do there, and just and also take time to look at the beautiful flowers you're posting as well. That's all part of it. So I'm gonna sign off now. So this is Anna Amelia from Northeast Animal Rights. So a massive thank you to Jordi for joining us today, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you.